For the Ravens, I think this is great business. Lamar Jackson is MVP. He's got a 70+% winning percentage, and he is a top 10 quarterback even at his worst. He's carried this team to the playoffs, but there's one thing missing, and that's Lamar's availability. The last 2 years in December, he's finished one total game. And I see a lot of Ravens fans that are split on this. Some think you have to give him all the money, and others think, look, if you can't stay durable in a passing league where he can still develop more as a thrower of the football within the pocket, why am I going to give you the most guaranteed money of any quarterback in the NFL? Lamar Jackson also, his mom is partially negotiating on his side, as well as the NFLPA here for this deal. So I feel like when this report came out, Brandon, every team, the Commanders, the Panthers, the Bears, Falcons, Jets, no, they were one of the teams that didn't. All were reported to not be interested in Lamar Jackson. The Lions, another one. And I thought to myself, for most of those teams, it makes sense. Because number one, outside of maybe the Lions, the Panthers, and the Jets, they're not ready to win. But secondly, for some of these teams, it's a lot more difficult to negotiate when it's Lamar himself and not his agent. That's pretty atypical. Ultimately, BC, I need to get your spin. You're lower on Daniel Jones getting his money. Do you think the Ravens are making the right decision here? Or should they just give Lamar the full $200+ million guaranteed, akin to what the Browns gave Deshaun Watson an offseason ago?
No, no, they shouldn't. And this is what I'm talking about a smart franchise. Like the Baltimore Ravens are being an incredibly smart franchise right now. Like the Giants aren't. The Ravens are. The Ravens are in full control of their situation. The Giants had absolutely no control, right? They're at the mercy. And that's their own real fault. At the end of the day, they shot themselves in the foot. Ravens have kept themselves in control of this entire, I don't even know what you want to call it, dispute, I guess, negotiation. What I believe about the Ravens is I believe that they're making the smartest decision for their franchise. They're trying to get Lamar obviously at the lowest possible amount of money that they can. I think it was rumored that they were offering him 135, I think, 140. That's not, I feel like I heard that number, and Lamar wants Deshaun Watson money. Or at least I think bare minimum, I think I've heard 200+ million, I guess is what he wants, really.
Deshaun's at 230, and he wants more than that.
He does want, yeah. But I think he would honestly settle for 200 million or a little bit more than 200 million. I know he wants, I think I've heard 250. Ravens aren't giving him that. So now the Ravens, what the Ravens are doing is with the non-exclusive tag, they're putting it on him. It's 32 million, right? 32.4 million, I think. So now they get to sit back and wait. They've had the negotiation process for how long have they been in this? Like almost 2 years, maybe, I think, at this point.
In a while.
Yeah, so they know their number. What they're doing is, I think that they really honestly be willing to pay 165, 175, maybe max out at 180, right? With obviously incentives, like the Daniel Jones contract.
Like playoff ones.
Yeah, and staying healthy, kind of like Daniel Jones. So that's what I think. I think that they offered him like 135, 145 in between that, but they're willing to go higher than that. But they don't want to give that to Lamar. They're doing now, put him out into the wild, and he can now negotiate with teams and see what his value is. And if a team, I feel like if the Ravens are like, if a team is a sucker enough, and I know that's a weird state, a sucker in Lamar, but if they're sucker enough to give Lamar a 5 or 6 year contract for $250+ million, majority guaranteed, I think the Ravens will say, fair game, all good to you. We'll take the 2 first-round picks, right? I think the Ravens will be like, you know what? We were never going to pay that much money. Fair game to you. You got a quarterback who's 27, 28, Sean, I think around that age. Had an injury history,
26, yeah.
26, injury prone, and we know that style of play does not lead to a long career. It doesn't. So the Ravens would be like, fair play, whatever. We'll take the 2 first-round picks. We get that cap money off our, books, and now we can move from here, which is very smart. Now they've got they'd have probably 2 first-round picks this year, They'd have 2 first-round picks next year. That's a lot to work with. Obviously, the seconds and thirds. It's a lot to work. It's nice,
Yeah.
Some cap room with Lamar contract off the table. A lot of flexibility there. Obviously, you'd be missing the most important piece of your team, which is the quarterback. But if you feel like you have your eye on somebody out there, take your shot, man. And at the end of the day, if a team does, if Lamar goes out there and a team doesn't offer him the moon, and maybe they are only offering him 185, 175, the Ravens might, bite on that and say, you know what, we'll be willing to take him for that. That's a fair number with incentives.
And the credit goes to them.
It's so smart by what the Ravens are doing. This is what I'm talking about with the Giants. It's more. I'm more mad at the Giants than Daniel Jones or anything. He got his money. So I just love what the Ravens are doing now. They're in control of their future right now, their destiny, if you want to use, those words.
And it's shrewd decision making.
It is.
Because John Harbaugh, good at his job. Eric DeCosta, GM, good draft this last year. The Ravens understand, look, Lamar, you go out there, see if you can get that $200 plus $230 million. If you do, great, we're not giving you that. Because we know once you get that with our defense, we can acquire that wide receiver that you need. Lamar Jackson in the playoffs, Brandon, has not been good. 55% completion percentage, double the turnovers as total touchdowns. And we know, given his injury history, you're buying into an asset that's depreciating. We may have seen the best in Lamar Jackson. That's an MVP season, but we knew with Greg Roman they maximized him and their scheme. He may regress in the next couple of years, as you would expect with a slighter frame, rushing style quarterback that relies on that athleticism to then allow him to open up the passing windows, the passing lanes. And I feel like for Baltimore, the cutoff point here is $160 million. I'll guarantee 2 years of Lamar. I'll maybe even guarantee a third if I'm really that confident. I wouldn't personally. But once we get to the 4th year, I'm not guaranteeing that. At 30 years old, we know Lamar's probably not going to be this athletic. And while he's been a great player in the past, good riddance, thank you. I shouldn't even say good riddance. Thank you for all you've done for us. You brought us to the playoffs, but you had 1 playoff win in 5 years on a rookie contract. And I have a hard time in this AFC, given how much better teams you're getting, particularly at the quarterback spot, seeing you win more than that, making opposed to a couple $1 million a year, 50 plus. And I think by Baltimore standards, this is the type of move that you understand who you are. You have an elite defense, and last year Lamar cost you in the playoffs. You nearly beat the Bengals with Tyler Huntley. You should have won that game, and Lamar wasn't there. So if you got in a younger, cheaper quarterback, you take a swing on a new one in the draft, you're put in a position to actually compete with the Patrick Mahomes. Because unless you have a quality rookie quarterback making a couple $1 million a year, you're going to have a pretty tough time being Kansas City. That's like the standard right now, right? And I don't think the way to get out this AFC is paying Lamar all the money he wants. Because in my eyes, that will never lead to a championship. It simply, in my eyes, is going to leave you as the same team in the last 5 years. Not quite good enough to get over them.
So, John, here's what I want to ask you, right? Because I feel like we're kind of on the same page with Lamar. Do you see kind of my argument with the Daniel Jones now that you've talked about Lamar? Where I'm kind of, maybe it's unfair of me, but I'm looking into the future of my end goal. I'm looking at it simply as an exec, like I'm a front office executive, right? This is how I look at these situations. My end goal is I want to win a championship. And I feel like that's every executive. We want to win a championship. So that's what we're looking at. So you talk about Lamar, and we don't believe that he can win a championship, or that you would have to surround me personally. You'd have to surround him with everything like they did with Jalen. And that's just not plausible with the money that he wants now because he's not a rookie deal, right? We agree on that. So that's where I'm at with Daniel Jones. I truly just don't believe that he's a guy who can, win you a championship. Maybe he can be a Trent Dilfer type, but then again, that would play more into my.
The difference, Brandon, is that look, if Daniel Jones got 4 years, 160 fully guaranteed, I would be with you. That'd be a terrible contract.
No. But I'm talking in terms of like, do you believe if let's say they get D-Hop, the Giants, right? Let's just say hypothetically they get D-Hop. Do you believe that they can compete for a championship in the next 2 years? I'll give 2 years.
I think they can win a playoff game again.
Super. I'm talking about then.
That's a big step. Multiple years of multiple playoff wins in New York. Now you feel like if we rebuild that defensive front and we can really build up a good defense with Daniel Jones, yeah, we can go to the NFC Championship game in a year. Philadelphia is maybe
Come on,
off, or
man.
San Francisco is dealing with all of those injuries. That's in the realm of possibility. And for the Ravens, I think the same thing. If you fully guarantee Lamar 4 years, I hate it. If you fully guarantee him 2, I understand it. I'm not in love with it because I'm just lowering him than most people. But I understand that's a smart move to make given all that he's brought and all that he'll continue to bring given his success and how important he's been to this offense in years past. But
You see how I'm not throwing out the word disrespectful when you talk about Lamar? Because I don't think that you're disrespecting him. I just think that you're just talking fair and honestly with him.
and the other difference here though is the Giants are so far away, Brandon, from winning because the roster has so many different issues. So I'm not going to get too upset or blown out of proportion with DJ because hey, like you still have a good amount of cap space. With the Ravens, your margin for error is a lot more slim, given how many years we are into this contention window, so to speak, contention window.
Yeah,
Right, a lot of time has passed in Baltimore, so the clock, in some ways, you don't have this runway that the Giants have to make more mistakes and give more money. You need to be a lot more conservative with your approach. Whereas the Giants, hey, look, you can overpay Daniel Jones a little bit if he's going to give you the best possible chance to win a playoff game next year. I'm not going to get mad at that.
I don't think the Giants have that to be honest, have that luxury. I just simply because if you look at their offense, their best offensive weapon is what? A running back, Saquon Barkley.
Mm-hmm.
How old is Saquon now? 27.
Same age as DJ.
Yeah. How old is that? What is that? 25? 20, not 25. He's not 25.
6.
26. Okay. But we know once running backs that he's already dealt with it. We like. I don't know. Just to me, that's what I'm looking at. End goal, I'm looking at, can this guy help me win a championship? And I just believe that I can go out there and get a guy that's better than Daniel Jones to help me win a championship. I truly do believe that. And maybe that's just where I'm coming from and why I'm getting so angry about it. But that's just where I come from. I believe that there are guys out there that can do exactly what Daniel Jones did. And there are a good amount of players out there that I believe can do much better than what Daniel Jones did, especially if I surround so you're saying I want to surround the talent with Daniel Jones because I want to see what he's got. I don't got time. I don't need to see that. I got guys out there that I can see clearly that can do stuff if I surround them. So why would I waste my time with this guy that I don't believe when I could go get a guy that I do believe in? That's just where I come from.